Hello guys, this is UniversalGiant and welcome back for more of Let's Play Pokémon SoulSilver. Last time, we spent 95 minutes catching Latios, and this time we're going to be heading south from Pewter City into the Viridian Forest. However, there's an item here in Rock Tunnel that I neglected to pick up what feels like months ago, and someone told me that was a Marowak instead of a Cubone. I don't know how the hell you can tell. But there is one item I didn't realize that you can actually go up through the rocks over here. I forgot I even had a rappel up to begin with. But up here on this ledge is TM56 Fling, one of the most interesting TMs in the game just mechanics-wise. What this TM does, it's a Dark-type move whose power depends on the weight of the item that you're holding. Essentially, the user will throw the item to its opponent, and if I guess it could take a number of effects depending on what it is you're flinging. There's a specific item that I don't believe we have, which is an iron ball that is specifically heavy, just so Fling will do the most amount of damage when you use it with that iron ball. And you can also fling things like Toxic and Flame Orbs to inflict status ailments on your opponents, but it's not something that I really intend to use, and it's very, very situational when you do, in fact, get a chance to use it, but it's quite an interesting move. That said, I think it's about time we actually headed on our way. So now that we have Duster back in our party, it's about time to head through one of my favorite areas in Heart Gold and SoulSilver, just because of how good a job I think they did in redesigning it. The Viridian Forest. Now, in the original Gold and Silver, this place was just a simple rock maze without any sort of character to it whatsoever. It was like an extension of the route, but here it's an entire area like it was in the original Red, Blue, and Yellow, which I really like. And as you can imagine, the large majority of trainers and Pokemon that we're going to be running into here are specifically bug types, and we're going to find a lot of mushrooms in here as well from what I recall, although this is a full restore, I don't mind. So many mushrooms around here, but even the remix they did for the music here is really nice. If you can't hear it too well, I suggest you look it up and take a listen to it. It really sets the mood for this place. But, of course, there are a lot of bug Pokemon that we can find here. Weedle, Kakuna, and sometimes Beedrill if you're playing SoulSilver like I am, Caterpie, Metapod, and sometimes Butterfree if you're playing, Heart Gold. Among other Pokemon, of course. There's a specific one that's only a 6% find in this area that I'm hoping that we run into, even though I already took the opportunity to catch one when I was going after Lickitung, Oddish, and Staryu for Bill's grandfather. The Blue Flute, I actually forget which one this is too, but I have a feeling we're going to be using it quite often. Wakens a single Pokemon from sleep, not too bad. So now we have one that heals Infatuation, a Flute that heals Confusion, and a Flute that heals Sleep. Really convenient to have. I wish more games had something like that, but I can also understand why they wouldn't. It is a little bit broken. We have plenty of berries for them anyway. Stacy had 3 Metapods! Goes without saying he was completely decimated, although I think each of his Metapods had a chance to use Harden, so I don't know, it wasn't a total destruction, but sorry. Even though all the bug Pokemon here that the trainers have are relatively weak, it's still nice to have trainers that are in the level 50s, even if they are weak Pokemon. At least, based on their levels, they're not as bad. And Psych Up, which I will get to as soon as I pick up the item that was somewhere over here. Where was the item? Right above me here. Tiny Mushroom, so much more important than a technical machine. Psych Up, TM77, I believe, if my short-term memory is correct, and it is! I believe this is going to be a move that Klaus is prompted to learn on Level Up. What Psych Up does, if your opponent has any stat changes, including, buffing up their attack or defense, and you use Psych Up, your Pokemon will copy those stat changes as well. There's a 6% chance that in here you'll find a Pikachu! You definitely want to catch at least one of these things if you want to rematch with Lieutenant Surge, but more on that when we get to it. There's also a 5% chance that each Pikachu that you catch will have an item called a Light Ball. The cool thing about the Light Ball, it's an item that only Pikachu can get any kind of use out of. The Light Ball doubles your attack and your special attack, with no negative repercussions whatsoever. But even if you do something like Evolve Pikachu, the Light Ball won't have its effect anymore, so you have to leave it as a Pikachu. Take a guess which Pokemon trainer in this game makes full use of the Light Ball. I'll give you one guess. It's really fun to use, too. I remember when I was going through the World Tournament the first time, in the videos I put up on that related to, what was it, the White 2? There's a wall there, or is there an item there? What am I walking into? Why did I stop? Oh, I'm on a raised platform. But when I salved in Nova the Pikachu for my tournament team, I gave him a Light Ball, and it made him much more powerful than I expected him to be. It was quite surprising. The unfortunate thing is he's still a Pikachu, so even though he's kind of fast, he's still outsped by a lot of other Pokemon, so you have to be pretty careful with how you use it. But it's still fun to use. And is there anything else in here that I missed? I don't believe there is. Wow, this place is a lot smaller than I remember it. Oh well. We made our way to the other side. It's much easier to get lost in there in the original first generation too, but we've already been down here to Route 2 and there's nobody in the grass that's really worth checking out, so I'll just skip it if I can. Doug! Sure, I love having bug catchers' phone numbers. Their fights are so interesting to rematch with. His Butterfree used a move called Tailwind, which raises the speed of his entire team for, I don't know, 3 to 4 turns. It's not all that long. For the longest time, I didn't even know Tailwind was available in the 4th generation. I rarely saw it used. But it's used quite extensively in the Black and White games, so I always just assumed it was from the 5th. But once we make our way through Route 2, we've arrived in Viridian City. Funny how they have that sign here despite the fact that you'd normally be coming from the other direction, but I want to heal these guys up before we explore the town, so if you'll give me a second. Hi, Cameron! I know everybody's sick of seeing Duster in the lead, but he's still the lowest level member of the team, and since nobody's holding the experience share, we might as well get him out in front so he can level up too. And of course, I can't resist the urge to take a picture. When can I ever what's the word? When can I ever... What's the word? Why can't I think of it? Resist! Why did that take so long? Over here's the trainer house. Now, this didn't... It's actually quite an interesting place that I've never really taken advantage of because the Battle Frontier is much more interesting to use than this place, but I think you can access a couple of interesting battles in here, and I don't know, I guess we'll give it a shot if I can. Just to see what it's about. I mean, the only time I've ever used this was in Gold and Silver, and you could face a trainer that had Meganium, Feraligatr, and Typhlosion. But that's really all I know about this place, so I'd figure, what the hell, let's see what it's like. Unfortunately, I don't have a Pokewalker, so... I have no idea what's going on right now. Sure. Don't you love it when I rush into things without having any idea what's going on whatsoever? Sure. It's match? What does that even mean? It's match. I'm guessing you have the same Meganium, Feraligatr, and Typhlosion. Now, in this particular battle, this is similar to the style that you'll see in the Battle Frontier whenever I decide to cover that. All of your Pokemon are leveled down to 50, and that is doing a terribly small amount of damage. I actually have to think about this battle. I'm not used to this. Well, I guess Lupus would be the ideal to deal with you, since Meganium is pure Grass type. It's weird not having the advantage of levels or being able to use items. But it's a whole different kind of experience. The weird thing about this fight is that you can bring 6 Pokemon in, and the trainer here will only have 3. but I want to say, depending on who you've had a chance to battle, either competitively, or if you've traded... What do you call them? Like, friend codes? They're not called friend codes on this game. Maybe they are, I'm not sure. I've never used it in 4th generation. But you can exchange something that would give you the chance to use, or at least look at, other kinds of trainers besides the average guy that has the 3 starters here. I'm really hoping that I can survive a waterfall since I put up the Sunny Day and its power is halved. Unfortunately, you got a crit, so I can't make any use of that strategy whatsoever. Well, that could have been the one and only time I would have ever had a chance to put the Sunny Day to use. And now, unfortunately, since Houndoom is down, all this is going to do is power up his Typhlosion when he gets a chance to bring it in. Of course, I would have been able to bring in Lupus to use Flash Fire and absorb the fire hit, but unfortunately Lupus is dead now. And he's going to start Dragon Dancing. Oh boy, Dragon Dance for Alligator can actually be quite a threat. I'm actually surprised I was able to outspeed it with Krako. Is Feraligatr really that slow? I'm gonna have to compare base speeds after this battle. I've been working under the assumption that Feraligatr was faster than Krako. Maybe it's just because of the EVs, I don't know. So many crits in this fight, jeez. But yes, as you can see in a competitive style battle, you don't have the opportunity to shift out when you knock out your opponent's Pokemon. Speaking of which, it's a Typhlosion. I might as well leave Krako in to die because I'm fearing the fire move immediately, and you're going for a Focus Blast? Why would you do that? I mean, it's going to knock me out anyway, but you have the Sun Up, you have the Stab with Fire, and I'm still weak to Fire anyway. Why would you use a Fighting-type move? It doesn't make sense. Because even with the Sun Up, if I switched in somebody else and Fire was neutral, it wouldn't... Oh, whatever. I don't want to bring in Crunch because my Water move wouldn't be strong enough. I guess I'll bring in Duster. It's funny now that I'm trying to stall out my own fire moves. And I also love how I brought in Duster despite the fact that I saw Focus Blast on the last turn. You know what would be hilarious? If you missed Focus Blast again and Duster knocked you out. Oh well. I've never mentioned this before. Typhlosion is actually my favorite of the Johto starters. I guess it's because he's a lot more fun to use. At least in the main game, I have a lot more fun playing hyper-offensively as opposed to kind of stallish or defense-oriented. So, Typhlosion's a pretty strong Pokemon in that regard. He has a pretty nice move pool. That's really all I have to say about stop getting critical hits. Holy crap. How many crits have there been in this one fight? I love how I'm just staring at the screen trying to think of words to say despite the fact that I had absolutely no reason to walk in here and didn't expect to have this kind of fight. You're welcome! I'll get more into what battle points are when we finally cover the Battle Frontier, whenever the hell that happens to be. I at least want to say you can challenge this guy as many times as you like, although I don't remember if you have to do it once a day or something, and Duster's still alive, which means that we had all of our Pokemon healed after we left the fight, which is kind of neat. What were we doing here again? I guess selling things, but that isn't necessarily anything that you needed to see me do. There's unfortunately not too much that we can actually do here in Viridian City. I mean, it's kind of sad, but even when you got here in the first generation, there wasn't much for you to do anyway. So, at least in that regard, they're consistent. So, I mean, if you wanted an excuse, there's your excuse. Yes, you were. I don't believe you, though. Yes, it's too bad that you can't. I want to say this is the guy who would teach you how to catch a Pokemon in the first generation, and everybody hated him because you had to go through his tutorial. He's not going to force us to this time, and I'm very happy about that. But we can't just run over to the gym here because there's some idiot old man blocking the way. and we can't apparently see who the leader is. Canonically, the original leader of this gym was Giovanni, because he was the leader of Team Rocket. He ran off and hasn't been heard from since. So somebody from Pallet Town happened to take over, and it's not the guy that you're thinking of. Well, now it's the guy that you're thinking of, but only because the first guy you were thinking of wasn't actually the right answer, unless you've seen this game before. In which case, why would you even speculate on that in the first place? Now, we could cut down the tree in order to get there, like you normally would in the original, but we could just as easily surf over and talk to this guy. And if we talk to him, just like the fat guy on one of the earliest routes in the game who I think gave us rest, this guy's going to give us TM85, which is Dream Eater. And although we may not have seen this move in action, I want to say I've severely feared it at some point, although I can't exactly remember when. If your opponent is asleep, Dream Eater will do whopping 100 base power worth of psychic damage and heal the user. So it's a pretty powerful move if you can get the opponent to be asleep. Is there anything else that we can actually do here? I forgot how small this town was. Holy crap. Well, I suppose we could just make our way southward from here down to Route 1 in Pallet Town. No reason not to, right? Funny, when you think about it, all of the, or at least a large majority of the cities that we've gone through here, like Violet City, Goldenrod, we'll eventually get to Cinnabar, we've been through, I don't know, I'm just running off the names in my head, like Cerulean, Vermilion. All of these towns are named after colors. And the one that we're heading towards, the very first town that you ever started in a Pokemon game, is named after something that you would use to paint those colors. And it's so symbolic of all of the different paths that you could potentially take, all of the different Pokemon that you could use, how you could essentially paint your own adventure. Absol! Why did you break up the wonderful metaphor I was building up? Dark type from the Hoenn region! Very strong physical attacker, but low defenses and low speed. Pretty difficult to use, but also pretty fun if you use it well enough. And an Alakazam who we haven't seen in a while, even though it was only a few videos ago when we fought Snicker again. So, I guess that's a thing. This thing has Focus Blast too! I'm glad it misses a lot! Unlike every single fight I've had in the World Tournament where nobody misses Fire Blast, Thunder, or Focus Blast. They all happen to hit, and you survive the hit. That's nice. Can I not die to a Focus Blast? Please don't die. You missed again! Duster, you are awesome! I need to get myself a Furret doll just so I can hug it. But like I was trying to say before, something that you can use to— Balba! Another interruption from my wonderful metaphor! The last set of objects, and this is the thing that I actually wanted to use so I could finally put all the objects in place and actually start setting up for the thing that I want to show you! That is still going to take another 2 months to set up because it requires a decent amount of time for me to leave the objects in there. But again, something I'll get to later on. Do you have anything interesting? No, probably not. Hi Ivysaur, how you doing? You're weak to Ice Beam, although it's probably not going to do nearly as much damage. I don't know why I use it. Or why I even have it. Return should probably do more. Yay, Freeze! Please don't thaw on the first turn, please! Yay! Ice Beam, you're awesome! Duster, you're awesome! Why am I so easily amused? I'm so used to having terrible, terrible luck in these kinds of— You know what, Duster, ride the hot hand. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what I always say. I'm so easily amused, especially in Pokemon games where your luck is notoriously bad and the AI's is notoriously good. I'm genuinely happy whenever something works out in my favor just because you never expect it to. And there's another move that never seems to miss, even though it only has 70% accuracy. Blizzard! Thankfully, it's unstabbed, and your Starmie isn't as strong as it probably should be. I'm sure Misty's was more powerful than yours. I've always liked the way Blizzard looks, though, for some reason. Maybe it's because I loved snow when I was a kid. I have to say, when you actually need to drive, snow suddenly becomes something that you feel like the plague. Funny how that works. It's still very pretty to look at, though. What was I talking about before? Oh yeah, I was trying to build up to the fact that the area that we're going down to is actually named after something that you can use to paint all of the colors of the towns we've been to so far. Pallet Town. The original starting location of the very first generation of Pokémon. And a town that we'll explore next time, because I think this video's gone on far too long. This is UniversalGiant, and I'll see you next time.